It's time again for another installment of the basics, and on today's show I want to answer a couple questions that have been posed to me recently regarding the strengths of a lot of different creatures in Magic the Gathering and how I would classify them. So if you'll bear with me for the balance of this episode, I will explain what I mean about that. As you already may know, all creature cards in Magic the Gathering have an attack/defense quotient, which is a number on the bottom right corner of the card, which gives you attack and defense, so when you're playing against your opponent. And I've classified creatures into 4 different categories, and I'm going to explain them. And the first one is what I call your frontline creatures. They range from 1/1 to about 2/2, depending on the card and the color. And usually these are the first creatures to come out because they cost almost nothing to bring out in terms of mana, and you have a lot of them in your deck. And they're going to do the majority of the battle in the beginning of the game. Second category is what I call mainstays, because this is the bulk of the creatures in your deck, and they range from 3/3 up to about 5/5 at the most, but most of these creatures will stay 3/3, 3/4, 4/4, or even 4/3 in that area. They are the backbone of your creatures. The third category is what I call heavy hitters. This starts at about 5/5, and if you see here, Crash of the Rhinos, as high as 8/4 or even beyond. There are some cards that are quite massive in the attack defense quotient, but the problem with these cards is, as awesome as they are, and they do a lot of damage, they cost a hell of a lot of mana to bring out, so you're not going to have them come out until much later in the game. Some of these cards can cost as much as 9 or 10 land to be tapped before you can get them out. Is it worth it? You have to decide that for yourself. That's why in a lot of decks I play in, I mainly have mainstays like this category and a lot of frontline creatures, and maybe 1 or 2 of the heavy hitters if it's that kind of a deck. The final category is what I call the defense category. If you notice, a lot of these 2/7, 0/5, 3/6, 1/8, this category is mainly reserved for wall creatures and creatures whose only purpose is to give you a really quick line of defense because they're not going to do much else. The cost in bringing them out varies. If you go from Backlash Spider, it only costs 5 to bring out. Thalid's Shell Dweller, which is the 0/5, is only 2. Tree Folk is 5. And Wall of Shards, which is a 1/8, is a hell of a defense wall, and it's a snow creature with flying, only costs 2 to bring out. Now, even though there are many different wall cards in the game, I do employ a couple of the wall creatures, especially in the artifact cards. But these are not going to win you the game. These are what you're going to put out if you're under attack and you don't really have any good creatures in your hand or can draw quick enough, so you'd throw out one of these because of their low cost. That is the 4 categories as I see it, and you have to choose for yourself how to include them in your deck. The other important thing to note when you're evaluating the attack-defense quotients of your creature cards is it all comes down to color. White doesn't have a lot of heavy hitters. It has some mainstays and a lot of frontline, but you don't see a lot of the big cards in white. Blue and green have a lot of the heavy hitters with the bigger numbers, as do red. And they also have a lot of frontline and a lot of mainstays. Those colors are more complete when it comes to creatures. Black has a little bit of everything, but you don't see a lot of heavy hitters in black that go above 6 on each side. There's a lot of mainstays and a lot of front lines. And finally, the other colors like the gold cards, artifacts, and everything else, it's a crapshoot. So you really have to evaluate the color of the deck you're building before you start going through the different categories of the creatures. Have a great day.